First Person this week continues our conversation with Delaware's congressional delegation. Congressman John Carney, welcome to First.
Great to be here.
Congressman, it's been a heck of a first 8 months. How would you describe the past year so far in Congress?
Well, it's been very challenging for sure, and frustrating as well. Challenging because people are suffering out there in our state and across the country. Tens of thousands are out of work in Delaware, millions in the rest of the country. Thousands here are facing foreclosure. So people are really struggling as the economy struggles to get back on its feet. And in Washington, I think we struggle to get our business done, frankly. There's been a lot of partisan bickering back and forth, certainly much more than I'm used to here in Delaware. In Delaware, we kind of have a tradition, Democrats and Republicans working together. At the end of the day, I mean, that doesn't mean that we don't have our differences, but at the end of the day, looking for real solutions to the problems. And it just seems like in Washington, we're unable to do that. Republicans dig in on their side, and too many Democrats dig in on our side, and at the end of the day, what the people of Delaware are telling me is they want Democrats and Republicans to work together, to put people back to work, to address the regulatory challenges that we have in terms of Wall Street and financial regulations, in terms of environmental controls and that kind of thing, and just get something done. And I think our job is to create some level of confidence by being able to get our job done.
Has it been difficult to get things done, especially being a member of the minority party in the House?
Oh yeah, and the House is really built for the majority, and the Republicans have well over a majority of 218, and so they're able to run, and they do. So what I try to do is find opportunities to work with Republicans on pieces of legislation to support things that I think are important to our state. I was one of the first freshman Democrats to get an amendment passed which would require the intelligence agencies to come up with a plan for rail security, which is important for the Northeast Corridor, as part of the intelligence authorization bill. I've worked with Pat Meehan over in Delaware County, the newly elected Republican member from Delaware County, on issues relating to Boeing, the Boeing facility, which is just outside of his district, and there are about 750 Delawareans who work there at that facility. And I also sponsored legislation to protect the Delaware River and Bay, which Congressman Meehan and several other members in our region co-sponsored. So there are opportunities to work on specific issues that affect Delawareans.
I know you were saying it's kind of frustrating because you have both parties digging their heels in, Tea Party's gaining some momentum. So how do you get past things when it seems like neither side is willing to compromise?
Well, I think the American people and the people that I talk to here in Delaware are making it pretty clear that they're tired of the bickering and they want to see results. They want to see people working together. Now, that's not everybody, and that is part of the problem. I mean, we have a fairly small group in the House, among the House Republicans, that held up the works with the debt ceiling legislation, with the continuing resolution, the budget for 2011, and they were just getting in the way, and people didn't like that. So I think voters start to talk to their members, and you'll see more reasonable people, I hope. We have some really big challenges. We have a struggling economy that we need to put people back to work. It's the best way to address the deficit and the debt, and then we have to address the deficit and the debt in the long term. And in order to do that, we're going to have to work together. It's clear that neither side can impose its will in this process, and shouldn't.
What do you think, because of all of this bickering, do you feel like a lot's been done this session of Congress so far?
Well, not enough on jobs and the economy, in my opinion. The Republican leadership in the House has focused exclusively on deficit and debt reduction, and that is important. It's important particularly for the long term, though. We have people struggling right now. We had a battle in the Financial Services Committee, in which I'm a member, where the Republican majority wanted to eliminate essentially all the mortgage foreclosure programs that had been put in place as part of the TARP legislation. And these are programs that are helping hundreds of families here in Delaware stay in their homes, and thousands across the country. It just didn't make any sense whatsoever to me. There has not been enough focus on job creation and legislation that would advance. I happen to believe that we ought to have an infrastructure program out there, putting people to work, fixing roads, bridges, that kind of thing, things that, frankly, you borrow money for. Makes sense to put people back to work in the short term. Obviously, that has to fit into a long-term deficit and debt reduction plan, and we can do both at the same time. Too much focus on that and not enough on job creation in the short term, which is what people in Delaware tell me is the most important issue. You
mentioned infrastructure, and that was sort of one area where you had some success getting some money for Northeast Rail that was kind of rejected by Florida, money to come here. Tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Yeah, well, Florida rejected the allocation that was coming their way for high-speed rail, and our delegation, Senators Carper and Coons and myself, sent a letter. We got others in the region to do the same thing to Secretary LaHood, saying, look, we could benefit by having that money here in the Northeast Corridor. Actually, we have probably one of the best corridors for high-speed rail because our ridership is so high. It's a tight fit in our system, but it's an opportunity to put people to work in the short term, working on something that's going to enhance our economy in the long term. And this is the kind of thing, frankly, infrastructure you would think. Historically, it's been, when we work together in Delaware, it's one of those things that Democrats and Republicans can rally behind, in terms of fixing bridges and water systems and that kind of thing. That's going to be the foundation for economic growth in the long term. And in the short term, it puts people back to work. So the high-speed rail was something that was really important to our region.